Hey, yo, welcome back to the Boston Sports Brothers podcast. Great to be with the fellas this evening. Gentlemen, how are you? Thanksgiving week is upon us.
How we
Give me
doing,
all the
bud?
turkey.
Turkey time. We'll talk Thanksgiving down the road in a little bit. Well, the topic of Thanksgiving is up now, though. Big E is flying the friendly skies, perhaps with our New York Minute friend Erky, as well as they make their way to their Thanksgiving. So no Big E on the podcast tonight, but don't worry, we still got oh yeah, yeah, oh at the end. And but right now we're gonna get around town and get right into it. A bro episode this evening, no guests, so let's dive right into perhaps the Patriots' worst loss of the season yesterday. They go down to Miami, where this team really has no success over the last 20 years, but a complete debacle all across the board. J-Mac, kick it off with opening takes. Gabe and Kraz supplement us, and let's dissect what was just an ugly afternoon for the New England Patriots.
All right, guys. So yeah, after I think it's just two steps forward, one step forward, two steps back, as they say, right? Um, After going 2-2 the prior 4 weeks, they just laid an egg yesterday against the Dolphins. They had a 24-0 in the second quarter. That just kind of blew the game right open, and unfortunately, they couldn't come back from that. It was kind of one of those games where by the second half, you're almost like, should I switch to red zone? Should I switch to the Celtics pregame even?
Yes.
But like honestly, pregame, not even the game. Like I'd rather watch them talk about the Celtics than even watch the product that we saw on the field yesterday. So it's kind of a disgrace, and I think the blame's really got to start going on Gerard Mayo and Mac Rowe and
Elliot
Elliot
Wolf.
Wolf. Yeah, I'm looking at I'm starting to look at the draft picks, for this past draft, and it's really looking bad. Like Drake May, of course, that's a hit. We can all agree on that. Polk, no show. Caden Wallace, Layden Robinson, Javon Baker, Marcelius Dial. I don't even know if he's on the team anymore. And it's just
Oh no,
they
he is.
completely whiffed on the draft. And I think you have to start looking at the personnel, and of course Gerard Mayo. So those are my two cents. Is two once that they just keep taking steps backwards after going 2-2, laid a complete egg, and it was a no show, and I hated it.
Yeah,
I want to touch on the offensive line because, yeah, I was going to say, I just wanted to touch on the offensive line because, I mean, I know Polk has been a no-show and, so is Baker and those other guys. But the offensive line, I mean, really to start the game, we had a really good drive moving forward, and then Vidarian Lowe had two back-to-back penalties. They might
Oh,
not have been back-to-back, but they were definitely on the same series. And it was just like, and I mean, then Joey Slye, I think, missed the field goal, right?
Yep.
But I mean, that's you know what I mean? In the back of their mind, it's just like, oh fuck, here we go, and it's another one of those, and like their lack of enthusiasm just kind of depletes. Before that, they were moving the ball really well, and then they kind of just fell apart. Is what I saw.
yeah, and I think it might be a little bit too early to call the last year's draft everybody busts, but we'll certainly see. It's not trending in the right direction right now, but you got to give these guys a few more years to develop and see what they really can become under coaching that knows how to coach and all that. But we'll see. For me, it was just a completely demoralizing loss. I couldn't have switched to the Celtics faster. I was watching pregame. I was ready for the Celtics at 3 o'clock. So when J Man actually texted the group and he was like, actually, like it's only a two possession game with 10 minutes left. There's a chance here. So I did flip back. Drake May gives you hope. It's like, okay, like we could do this maybe. Like he had a good drive going and it kind of was looking positive there, but no such luck, unfortunately. Defense continues to look absolutely horrible. Can't stop anything. It's I don't know. I had a thought today. I was like, I'm kind of ready for this season to be over. Like
Yeah.
I've been thinking about the off
oh
season a
boy.
lot. I really think that the Crafts need to open their damn wallet, just like John Henry, we always say. Bring in some
Don't they
weapons to
have
sur
to?
Yeah, they got to surround Drake May with weapons. They need to fix the O line. I think they should honestly draft defense and then spend money on offense.
Yeah, well, I think It's right. It's that right there, Gabe. What you just said, like you're ready for the season to be over. I unfortunately feel like that's the entire sentiment surrounding this team, and that the players are in that same sort of boat right now, and it's only human nature. But I think the biggest things to come out of the game was everything afterwards yesterday, where you have Gerard Mayo making the comment that he made about he can't do anything once the players are within the white lines. So let's put that on the table. Let's go back to Robert Kraft and Elliot Wolf and like team management and ownership. We're going back to post Brady, post Belichick. Like, guess who's still here? The Krafts are still here, and they've allowed this absolute fucking nosedive from the point that Tom Brady walked out the door to where we're at today to happen under their watch, and they're the only common denominator, right? Like, you let Brady out. You called Belichick a schmuck on the way out in the fucking documentary. Like, well, guess what? You two look like schmucks right now for not doing anything to make this team any better. So how do you feel about that? Like, you can't trash people. The Crafts deserve so much blame. You want to know what we haven't done in a very long time on the Boston Sports Brothers podcast?
I know what's coming.
The fucking penalty box door
Ding,
is
ding,
back
ding,
open,
ding,
baby.
ding, ding,
And
ding.
Jonathan and Robert Kraft, you can firmly plant your ass in there because you're about to have two embarrassing seasons back to back of this team underperforming, poor coaching. One, because you had a coach that wanted to do everything his way, and now you have a coach who doesn't know how to do anything at all. So it's just a complete abomination of an organization at this point in time. You got a nice schmenzer of a lighthouse that you can go visit down in
Because they were
Foxborough,
cheap.
but
They were cheap.
Yeah, like this team is just so frustrating. And the fact that you got rid of the best coach in history to see the product that we're seeing right now it's a disgrace, honestly. I'm starting to think that it might be a bad move to have gotten rid of Bill. I think Bill got the best that he could have out of Mac Jones. And if he had Drake May, I don't know if he would have drafted him. That's like where you begin to talk. But if he didn't have the controls, if someone was saying, okay, he's gonna have to work with May, I think he could do well. And the defense is clearly taking a step back. And that's what we thought was gonna be our bread and butter this year. So I'm starting to think that like it might not have been the best move to get rid of him.
I don't know if it
So
would.
let's look at
Go
it this
ahead,
way.
Chris.
If I was gonna say if Bill Belichick is there, all right, and he's looking at the draft and we have the number 3 pick and we're looking at these quarterbacks, who do you think he's gonna pick? He's clearly gonna pick May. I mean, given the order of the draft, he's gonna pick May. And I go back to a couple of episodes ago when I was talking about did they really want Gerard right now? I'm not saying they don't want Gerard because we all know they do. But I think I think they jumped on him a little bit premature, going back to them not wanting to spend and not wanting to spend the $10 million to buy him out of his contract. And it put Gerard in a really bad place because now he's under committee by fire. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but anyone, if they're going to be offered the head coach of the New England Patriots, I mean, you're not going to put that down. So I mean, he's in a really harsh media environment with extremely, extremely high expectations, and he's got no fucking clue what he's doing. And the surrounding help isn't helping at all. So, I mean, it kind of goes back to that. I think Gerard was the guy. I just don't think it was the year.
But
Josh, I think you're completely on, and I think Belichick shouldn't have been gone quite yet.
doesn't this all go back to the Crafts though? Like in their decision
Definitely.
making?
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah,
They had no
it goes
they had no
back to the
plan.
top.
No plan.
And Claudia, I totally agree with you. Like, it is the Crafts because they've completely failed to invest in the coaching staff. They've completely failed in funding, the people in the war room who draft. They just go with Belichick guys anyways. So what the hell was the point of like the organization, its culture isn't really changing. It's still what was kind of done under the Belichick era with the same people that he did it with. So it's like I do blame the Crafts. I just think they're kind of sitting
Definitely.
high and not really realizing what needs to be done to fix this team.
Well, look at the Kraft. Look at Bob's good friend Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, and they've transitioned from coach to coach, and probably I think maybe even their front. I don't think their front office has changed, but definitely had different coaches over the last 5 to 7 years, and they've been great. They've been consistent, and I think that's because the owner had a plan and he knew what he was doing. And I think the Crafts have been negligent, and you really have to take them into account on why this is all falling apart and how it's been just a debacle over the last 5+ years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Including when Brady was here.
the Crafts are to blame for the current state of the organization right now. I mean, the 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 game yesterday is really a microcosm of the season and just things going wrong across the board. But it starts at the top down and it's trickled all the way down. That the players after the game don't really even seem bothered by the loss. It sounded like based on the reports in the locker room. I think the fans are somewhat apathetic at this point of the season because it's like you have something in Drake May, but you know that as it currently stands, that they're not going to be able to do much with what they have on the roster. So there's a
And
lot of
Plotty,
work.
like,
There's a
and you
lot of
said
work to
that
do.
the fans are apathetic and like I said, demoralized. How do you like you mentioned the players? Like, how do the players stay focused and continue on with this dredge of a season? Just with a positive attitude. I hope they can do it. I hope they can string together a few more wins and kind of bring the optimism level back up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll close on the fact that Devin. So many Patriots players are in the media now, and it's they're saying that Gerard isn't the issue, and it's like he's part of the issue. I think that we just identified that the Crafts are, but I don't know if any of those former players are willing to say that the Crafts are the issue, considering the fact that they were the ones signing their paychecks for as long as they did. But
Yeah, he lined their pockets.
yeah, but if you're a former player and
Probably still does.
and you don't want to call out Gerard, but you have a feeling that the Crafts are an issue, then speak up because that's what Bobby's going to need to hear to be able to make some changes to this team. If he sees that the alumni of the team is like, "What the fuck are you doing, buddy?" Like sometimes you need a wake up
Right.
call from the people closest to you. So
Why have a podcast if you're not going to speak up?
yeah, so James White and Devin McCourty, who are
Julian
blabbing on
Edelman.
Twitter right now, let's hear what you have to say. Don't just say the fans expect 17-0 because that's not true. We expect a competent team on the field with ownership that's
Yes.
going to invest in it. And if you feel the same way, then speak the fuck up. Otherwise, you can keep playing tiddlywinks on Twitter with each other. And another guy who is playing fucking tiddlywinks, I think, is Jim Montgomery, who is now the
Jeez.
head coach of the St. Louis Blues. What a
He
week that
swindled.
was.
He swindled us. Holy
We have
shit.
we have a lot to
Oh,
break down. We got to go
boy.
straight into the Bruins. I mean, the
Love
Patriots
it.
are what they are, but we got to talk about the Bruins at this point in time because that's the juiciest story. I'll quickly set the stage and then Gabe take it away. But they lose to Columbus in embarrassing fashion as we recorded last week. The comments the whole vibe was off. And then Montgomery gets let go. They've won their last two games under Sacco, and Montgomery's now with the St. Louis Blues. So, Gabe, just dive into the week that
You get
was with the Blues.
5-year contract too.
It was
like
wild.
with the Blues.
Yeah. So yeah, that we started
Stupid.
that week feeling pretty crappy, and we're ending the week feeling a little bit high. We've got a 2-game winning streak here. So I mean, when are we not feeling high? But to be honest, but
Should have bet on that. Roll that over 2 games.
might have to edit that
That's
out for Mama Shipon.
It's staying in, baby.
It's in there. Yeah. So Coach Montgomery.
Hey, what did you say?
You smoke every day. Jim Montgomery gets fired. He gets canned. I don't blame Coach Montgomery. I know someone in this group may blame Coach Montgomery. Personally, for me, I put it on the players. I think David Pasternak really said it best. Is like it's kind of us who weren't giving the effort, and in that effort, it gets rid of a great coach and also a great human being. I really like Jim Montgomery. I thought he was a great personality, a good change from Bruce Cassidy coming in here, and I was, the writing was on the wall, but I was a bit, he deserved, a thank you, Monty post on Instagram. He he had some really nice. I mean, he had a great winning percentage with the Bruins. He just couldn't get it done in the playoffs, and if you can't do that, then you're gonna get canned no matter what your record is. So, yeah, I put it on the players mostly, but I know there's varying opinions on that.
I mean, I think what transpired with Montgomery in the last week has to be talked about a little bit more here. The fact that he has a 5-year deal, as J Matt just said, with the St. Louis Blues, just 5 days after leaving the Bruins. How can you not sit here and say that there must have been, something stinks. Something stinks. J Matt, you agree?
100%. Oh my God, something's really stinky right now, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all, Plotty.
Well,
I just,
go ahead,
I think what transpired was I think that Montgomery knew that he wasn't going to get re-signed going into this season, and he started putting all of his chips on the table, whether it was being a dick, sitting players, calling players out on the bench in front of on in middle of the game. I think he knew that he had a backhanded deal with St. Louis, so he could have just done what he needed to do to either try and win here and get himself extended, or it went south real quick. And I think the writing was on the wall, like you said, Gabe, and um, he was just pushing too many buttons and he had to go. And I think the players realize that. I think there's a lot of things that we don't realize as fans that go on inside the locker room that the players know about. And it just seemed like Montgomery had the straw. He was at his last straw, and I think it was a good thing that they got rid of him. Go with the homegrown talent with Sacco. I love how he's from Melrose. He's a great coach. You can hear like the accent in his interviews, and he's just a local guy, and he could be a coach that the team wants to play for. So,
Yeah.
it was time for Montgomery to go.
You totally nailed that one. I I listen to Spit and Chicklets occasionally, another podcast focused on hockey nationally, if you haven't heard of it. Mike Grinnell, one of the hosts on that show, said this was planned all along. Like Joe Sacco knew that Montgomery was kind of out the door, and the plan was to have Joe Sacco, come in. I wouldn't be surprised if he's our head coach. I wouldn't be surprised if they give him a contract and get him rolling as our next head coach. So again, like you said, he's a local guy. He brings that like Boston toughness, hopefully back into the locker room, so the players can't just I feel like the players were just giving Montgomery so much shit, and they probably knew that he was also out the door. So it was just a bad combination.
As a fan, though, you have to blame the front office, because if they knew that they weren't going to sign him in, let's say, August, cut bait. Like, why go in 2 months into the season where you're close to Thanksgiving, where if you're usually not in it, it's tough to come back. Obviously, we've seen teams like the Blues, that have done that, have come back after Thanksgiving, but it's just really frustrating. I think you have to put it on Sweeney and what's his face? Oh my God, I can't even think of his face. Neely, yeah, you have to put it on both of them right now, because they should have just from the get-go, it should have been Sacco's job, or just get rid of Montgomery they could have got rid of him weeks ago, in my opinion.
So Gabe, I actually have a little Bruins take for the first time.
Nice. I love it.
Right? Yes. So I was listening, and I think it was me. It was on the Felgram Mash show. I know that, and they were talking about how like Julian was like a really like rough, hard guy to play for, and they kind of got rid of him. And then who was it? Bruce Cassidy.
Yep.
Bruce Cassidy comes along, and he's more of a player's coach, and then they let go of him, and then Monty's just left with these Gen Zers or millennials or whatever you want to call them, and kind of a shit show. And it's just like, and I don't know if he was alluding to it, but he was like, what's the common denominator in that one thing? And I'm not even like a huge Bruins fan, but I was like, well, I mean, the only thing that's still here from there is the general manager and Marchand. So like, do you put blame on Marchand, or do you think it would be more like the GM and Cam Neely?
Go ahead, Paul.
No, it's a good point you bring up. The players definitely deserve blame. Like it shouldn't to tune out the coach the way that they did at the beginning of this season falls squarely on them. And you bring up Marchand Krause. He absolutely deserves blame. He's the captain of this team. And there were probably 2 or 3 public incidents, for lack of a better word, that him and Montgomery had over the course of these first 20 games. The blow up on the bench that was talked about a couple weeks ago, maybe like a week ago, where Marchand's like pointing to the captain logo on his jersey at one point in time during the game. Like they were not on the same page. So that leads me to wonder, back to what J-Matt said, did the team kind of know that Montgomery had one foot out the door and was a lame duck sort of head coach? So once again, back to ownership and management, though, because how do you mismanage the first quarter of the season like this? Between this and the whole fucking Swayman thing, like, holy shit, Bruins, like,
well,
right back in the penalty box for them, too.
I agree. I was going to say that, Plot. I'm with you.
I think that there might be some more writing on the wall just with Don Sweeney. He had the press conference to announce like the Montgomery firing. Who wasn't there? Cam Neely. So that kind of like leads me to believe there's definitely some like something going on as well in the upper management, maybe some disagreements or different views at this point. So I also wouldn't put it past them to sack Don Sweeney as well.
Yeah, I think he definitely has a lot of blame here for sure. I mean, if you know you have a lame duck coach going into the year, like you have to do something about that because the team really didn't respond. And it's like you see it in other sports too. Like a lot of players they don't want to play for the coach if the coach is they know he's gone and he's not fully invested. Um, it's just a bad look on all cylinders. Claudia, I'm with you. Throw him in the penalty box. Throw the Patriots front office in the penalty box. The Red Sox, we'll see. I'm giving them a pass right now.
They're teetering.
Giving them
They're
a pass right
teetering.
now, but we will see.
Teetering.
We will see in a
Into
month or
it.
two.
You know,
Yeah.
metaphorically, they're out on the ice. They're out on the ice. They're skating around right now. But
And the Celtics are good. The Celtics front office, golden.
yeah,
Love them.
we'll
They're
talk
good to
about
go.
that in just a
And-
second. Let's wrap the Bruins here because we can end on a positive and then go into the positive that is the Boston Celtics. So all of this transpires only for that.
John Henry on the ice.
Looking at his ice cream cone in the
He's
middle
got
of,
one of those things.
yeah, he's got the milk crate stacked up.
He's got
pretty
one of
high.
those things. Yeah.
So you
I'm
got
gonna fall.
the thing with the Bruins though is that it looks like they've responded to this situation in a positive way with the last two games, and most importantly, it's been goaltending, a shutout from Korpisalo, and finally Swayman has a
Hell
decent
yeah.
game where I've said you have to be able to win games 1-0 or 2-1 in the NHL to be able to be a good team, and that's what they've done those last two games. So let's see if they can keep it up the week ahead. I know that they have a game tomorrow night. I don't know who they're playing, but we'll get that for you.
They are playing
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
It's a good team.
I
They're a good
got.
team.
Can I just close this
Of
segment
course.
out here? Vancouver coming. I think they're coming into Boston.
Yeah.
Have a great record. Having a great season. Kind of a big rival for the Bruins. I guess. Yeah. I think this is the type of game where if the Bruins can pull it out, the season is on. Like they're gonna go on a roll here because the competition after that is a little bit softer. So watch out for the Bruins on tomorrow. We'll see if they can get another victory. It'd be huge. And then one last thought I had been trashing on that Olmark deal ever since it happened. I want to go back just for a sec. This isn't long, and reflect on that trade because it's starting to actually pan out a little bit in the Bruins' favor. Um, Starting with Korpisalo. Jonas Korpisalo, he's been playing great. He had a shutout
Great.
against Utah. Continues to look good in net. Has way more confidence. Then you get was it Mark Kasterlik? Is that I think Mark Kasterlik?
Yeah. He's been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Kasterlik's been great. He's all over the ice. He had two fights the other night in the same game. He's a big effort guy, and I've really actually enjoyed watching him play and stick up for other players on the team. And then you get that first round pick, and you get that Dean whatever Torno, I think it is. I believe he's playing in BC as a freshman right now, who could turn out to be another stud at center. So I think I was maybe a little quick to trash on that trade, and I'm always a bit quick to trash on Sweeney because it's so easy. But but looking back, not the worst trade.
No, I think
I agree.
Korpisalo has earned the ability to. I don't know if it's going to be, a Omar Swayman sort of situation, but he's definitely earned the ability to get some more playing time and, not be playing once every 10 days. If you go to, two for Swayman, one for Korpisalo sort of deal, I think that's kind of where we're at right now. And he's earned it. He's outplayed Swayman here in the early going, but big stretch coming up here for the Bruins to, as Gabe said, hopefully have a season worth watching here.
One last thing, just like Gabe said, the standings are wide open. Florida, I don't know if anyone's been paying attention, but they're on a 3-game skid right now. So they're 2 points up on the Bruins with 25 points. The Bruins have 23. So tomorrow is a huge game. They could bump them right into second place. So the season's definitely on. It's not the league, like you've been saying, Gabe, in past weeks, it's down and it still is down. So the door is wide open for the Bruins, and they made the move when they had to do it, and I think it's saving their season, like you said.
Yeah, so all we can hope for is that, the success continues after what's been a crazy first couple months of the season for the Bruins. So, uh, and some crazy news that came out today was that number 8, Kristaps Porzingis,
Oh yeah.
rejoins the starting lineup
Hell yeah.
for the one Boston Celtics,
He's back.
who just had a great week going 3-0, currently taking on the Clippers as we record tonight. But let's take a look at the week that was, which started off with a great. There's been some great games for the Celtics over the past few
Yeah.
days, but back to that Cleveland game, which took
Ooh,
place
great
last
game.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
They build up the lead in the early going. Cleveland makes that ferocious comeback in a classic Celtics third quarter experience. And the Celtics, I think this is the
Fucking
biggest
say, man.
difference with this team now, and we saw it yesterday in the Minnesota game as well, is that these games become tight, but they're able to manage the
Fight it.
situations, and they're able to come out on the right side of those situations. So it's good looks for the Celtics here. And then they had a competitive game against the Wizards as well, which I think those kinds of teams, the low, for lack of a better way of putting it, the lower level teams in the league are going to give the Celtics their best shots. Like those teams are getting up for those games a little bit differently than they might some other games with a chance to
The cup effect.
yeah, dethrone.
Absolutely.
Oh, what an ugly
I think it's
fucking
real.
court that was too. What an ugly court. But all right, everything's on the table Celtics wise. Anyone, the crowds want to take it away with any Celtics thoughts, and then we'll go
Yeah.
around the horn.
Yeah, definitely no. I mean, we handed Cleveland their first loss. That was nice. Like you said, it was, I think the Cavs were only up by 2 at one point, and it was super early in the first quarter, and we had complete control of that game and kind of took away, and they just came back like typically they do. And what's good is finally being able to see them kind of, overcome that. Shout out to who did I have as my player of the game? Jason Tatum, another 30-point game. He had a double-double, 12 boards, 33 points, 38 minutes, 7 assists. I mean, the guy's all over the place right now. He's impacting the game in so many different ways. Peyton Pritchard, again, continues to make your case for sixth man of the year. I have a little stat here. He's averaging 14.9 points per game, shooting 42% from deep on 27.7 per minutes. So
He's
that's an
number one
increase.
in offensive efficiency.
Offensive, yeah.
It's
He's
pretty
got an
solid.
increase of 9. He's got an increase of 9 minutes and 7 points per game from his career total. So I mean that in itself is saying something pretty big. Like you said, Josh, the Washington game is kind of it was what it was. It was an ugly game. Jason Tatum, the one time I actually put some kind of bet down, and of course Jason Tatum fucking shits the bed. And then really the Timberwolves game, guys, tell me how you feel about that. I mean, that was a
That
fun game
was
at the
that
end.
was a great game. I mean, that could be a potential finals preview, and boy, would that be a fun finals. I mean, you got Ant Edwards, who's just a pleasure to watch, like
Doesn't shut
always
the fuck up.
he chirps at the refs, but I think he does it in a way where like the refs respect him because I feel like if it was anyone else talking the way he was yesterday, the ref, they would have got teed up. But I think he does get that weird type of respect from them. And he just watching that documentary, which I think is a great insight on these players, if you haven't seen it yet, the Starting Five documentary, it shows really how charismatic Ant is. So I think it would be a great finals preview. And it was a great game yesterday. Solid 2-point win.
He talks the talk and he walks the walk. Like
For sure.
he's totally that type of person. He's an old school like NBA player in a new age generation, you know. For me, I think the interior defense is worrying me a little bit.
Yes, Gabe.
The big men that we have out there, I know Porzingis obviously is a huge upgrade in that department, but you still have that worry in the back of your brain about injuries and how much can he give you. I don't know. We were giving Neemias Queta a lot of props a few episodes ago. I think he's come back down to earth. When I watch him,
Certainly.
it's like
He's
he
all
is
over.
so spastic on the court.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand what like is going on in his mind. He's a great athlete. He can get up, he can play some good defense at times, but there were some games where teams were going right at him and they were scoring buckets.
Yeah.
So it's
He didn't play against the Timberwolves.
No, he
But
he didn't.
Then Cornette on the other hand is like he could be too slow. Like he doesn't have that spastic reaction, but he can't recover on so
Yeah.
it's an issue.
On transition
No,
day, yeah, it's hard for him to recover, and I do agree. I think that is a
And
problem, but
they
Porzingis
gave
coming
up
back will help that.
they gave up what 20 rebounds to Gobert last night or something crazy
Yeah.
like that. So
yeah.
But
Porzingis being back is huge
fuck
for that.
that
But
guy.
back to Queta for a second. I think with Queta, like you're seeing the pros and the cons to having that kind of player. And he's getting attacked in the mismatches, and the Celtics are a team that like to switch, 1 to 5. But he's, going against a Jordan Poole kind of guard or an Anthony Edwards. When you're getting into that kind of switch, like
Yeah.
your athleticism and your inability to move that quickly laterally just gets exposed. So
Donovan Mitchell.
he's still a valuable player for the team. I do like how Missoula kind of left him in there to kind of figure it out and let the team figure it out with him in there, because they're going to need him. But it also just speaks to the depth of this team. Like, to be able to just be like, all right, Xavier Tillman, you're up, and like throw him in there, and
He looked so bad.
Yeah, but he's
Yeah.
like
He was like all over the place against the Timberwolves. You couldn't put a bucket down. He was like lost. He needs more reps with the first squad, with not the first team, but just with the general rotation.
And I think that's part of what's happening right now in this part of the season, is that each of these sort of depth pieces, bench players, like, you kind of what 1 through 8 is pretty much with this
And that's
team.
what we had against the Timberwolves was 1 through 8. That was
Right.
it.
And so, the question is, who's outside of that 8, the other 2 players that, if you need to call their name, that you can call upon. So I think he's trying to figure that out between Kada, Fournette, Tillman, and there's one other, and Jordan Walsh.
Yeah.
Who, he's been okay. But listen,
Young.
the Celtics continue to roll on, the Cavs continue to roll on.
Yeah.
I don't want to be worried about the Cavs, because I still think we're a better team than them, but give them credit. Like, they're off to a hell of a
They are
start.
great. I think,
Shout
but
out.
I
know
do.
you think that they're great.
I do, yeah. But I do think the Celtics wins have been a little sketchy, because even yesterday they had I mean,
lead.
I wasn't looking at the betting apps or anything, but and I didn't take Minnesota at like 17.5 points at one point, because it was that it was crazy. They were getting 17.5 at one point. They were up that much. And I took
And
it.
in your head, oh boy,
And
I know it's
I've
coming.
exactly. I've seen the show before. I saw it against Cleveland, and these are good teams that they're going against. So it's a little sketchy how they're coming down to these last second, buckets. And I think they got bailed out because Naz Reid taking the 3 at the end of the game is very lucky for us when they have all that
Lockdown D.
talent in a 2-point game. So yeah, we're winning, but they need to tighten some things up.
J-Man, I wrote that down too as a concern. These kind of third quarter letdowns, like this Celtics teams always seems to do. Like 30 points turns into 2 points real quick. I haven't been as worried this year about it though. I once it gets down to the wire, they fucking buckle down. They get competitive. They find a way. That championship did wonders for this team. And
That's their identity.
I just
give
feel
up
like
25-point leads.
But this is the
It's
difference
like-
between like the 08 Celtics team, and I think in this team is when the Celtics came back after the championship run, they were like dominant. They went 27-2, I think it was something like that, or something crazy.
Killers, yeah.
And exactly, I want to see that from this team, and they're letting these teams back in it when they can just be kind of getting to that level, and that's what I want to see. Is I want to see them to be dominant.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a malaise to the beginning of the season for the Celtics, and I think it goes back to what we've said. Like, health in the playoffs is what's most important for this team, and just getting it right. Look, it'll be interesting to see as the season goes on, and if Cleveland remains in that spot, and if anybody else emerges in the East. But home court's definitely important. You can't lose sight of that, and as the season progresses, having to compete with Cleveland for that. It's going to be something to keep an eye on. But that I think it's been a just like NBA talk for a second overall across the league. Like, I think it's been a year for the NBA so far. Like,
The East,
I can't really think
not
about
the West. The West is
no,
hot.
the West is obviously hot and has so many players out there in the matchups each night. But like, what Golden State is probably the biggest surprise out of the
Big time.
entire season so far, leading the West and playing as well as they have. And you can't discount them either with the way that Steph Curry just comes out. If those ankles are good, he's always a threat.
I think the
Need a big
commentary
beast, just go down.
The commentary in the East is just so negative right now because like the Sixers have like 2 wins all season, and everybody thought they were gonna be
Who's
be
the
contenders.
snitch?
Yeah, and then it's like
After I
Milwaukee?
smell my butt.
Milwaukee's
Milwaukee,
been
yeah.
in. New York
Not
Knicks
great.
made a weird trade like towards the beginning of the season, so
Their
that's kind of been
chemistry's all
weird.
fucked.
So the East is just in this like kind of holding pattern, I feel like, and like you said, the West is just so much more exciting.
I think
Yes.
Cleveland's our biggest threat. in a
No doubt.
7-game series.
No doubt. It'll be, and you know, the thing with the NBA as well is like what happens when we get closer to the trade deadline and movement and buyouts and all those sorts of things. But
Brad
the
Stevens.
Celtics roll on currently at 14-3, playing against the Clippers as we record here on Monday night. In the first quarter, Zingis looked okay. They tried to force it to him a little bit too much, but getting him involved a bit. But
10-10 right now.
yeah,
11-10.
10-10
Low
in the
scoring,
first
wow.
quarter, wearing the hideous lime green uniforms, but
Oh,
yeah, those are terrible. But Celtics roll on, best team in the city by far, and let's take
Yeah.
a drive down Storo Drive over to Fenway Park for a quick minute on baseball off-season, Kraz.
All right.
I think it's just been a lot more chatter over the last week.
Couple
Nothing really has
updates.
transpired.
Yeah.
But break it down. Give us a hot stove update and anything that's going on that we need to know about.
Starting to warm up. I'm not going to do anything. I love Kevin Millar, but Kevin Millar asked and say, "Yeah, we traded Nomar." No, anyways, from what I'm gathering, this week, so last week they all made their pitches. Big Poppy was supposed to go, but there was like his dad's sick, so we had to go and take care of that. Essentially, from what I'm hearing from people, is that he's pitching to Juan that he can be with Devers the next Manny Poppy combo for the next 10 years. And at first, I was really just, I didn't really believe it. And then the more I've been thinking about it, the more I realized how big of a dark horse that the Sox actually are for Soto. Him growing up a Sox fan, idolizing Poppy, being able to recreate that. And then on top of that, the talent that they already have, knowing that, knowing that they're only a bat or two away from really contending in some pitching. And then the young talent that they have coming up is going to be huge. I don't think he's going to sign with the Dodgers. I think if he signs with the Dodgers, is a big problem in the MLB. That's going to have to get looked at because that's not. I mean,
It's unacceptable, honestly.
that's like the West All Stars versus the East All Stars. You might as well, you know what I mean? Like it's just, so it is what it is. They do get Soto. From what I hear, they still have the potential to trade for a Garrett Crochet and then also sign a Fried, Snell or Fried, a high type guy like Bruins, who's now, I guess, on their radar. Which means, so what I read was, and again, I'll be quick. He actually is interested in the Sox, and from what I'm hearing, this is because he rejected the Orioles qualifying offer. So that means that any team that signs him would have to face some type of penalty. In our case, we would have to give up $500 in international play, which means a little bit less to Sasaki if we even wanted to put it into him. And then 2025 draft. But that's really it. They can do all that.
Once Juan Soto signs somewhere, the floodgates are opening
yeah.
for free agency. Like deals are going to get done left and right. I feel like I would love to see Juan Soto on this team. I've kind of turned a little bit at first. I was like, I don't know. I don't know how much I love spending that much money on one player. Do it.
It's not your money.
Yeah, right. But the more I think about it, I think it could be really exciting, just like the Poppy kind of Manny Ramirez duo. That sounds fun to me for the next 10 years. And then I think if you get Soto here, players are going to want to come here, and they're going to understand that we're going for championships. So it's just annoying waiting for that domino to drop. It's like, come on.
It'll happen. The source, everyone's saying that Soto's going to sign during the winter meetings.
Yeah, by the end of it, yeah, that's what I'm hearing too.
And then
so that's going to happen quick.
When is the winter meetings coming up?
Probably right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, December, January, right around there.
Good a date.
Yeah, Krasner, I sent you an article earlier today saying how teams are actually really excited about the prospects that the Red Sox have potentially to offer in trades. So that's another bright spot coming from the Red Sox here. If Soto signs,
imagine giving up 3 of those guys for Vlad.
So that's December 8th through 12th. So
exactly.
So we're talking in 2 weeks. He's gonna have a decision. We're gonna know.
You could get rid of 2 of our top prospects and a couple of whatever guys in a pick for Vlad, because they're not going to be able to sign both Bichette and Vlad long term.
Right.
And then you can trade for Crochet and then sign 2 guys and then have a bunch of like 3 or 4s in Bayo and friggin' Tanner Houck and
just need that domino to drop.
I want to go
Yeah.
back to Fenway next year so bad.
Look,
I miss
Yes.
it.
I mean, Poppy said he's doing his homework, baby. So
they
it's gonna be, come on, like me. Yes.
they have an
Smell like
opportunity.
cologne.
All the chatter, across social media and across the airwaves has been that this team is approaching this offseason differently than they have previously. They understand that the fans are upset. They understand that they need to do something to inject life into the organization. So let's see what happens here. But they don't get any fucking credit until they have ink
They
to
do
dry
it.
on a contract. And so we can talk about it and we can pump their tires all they want. But this team gets absolutely no credit. As we said earlier, they're skating around on the ice right now, and they might get to skate on for the rest of the season, or they might be going right in for a fucking major penalty if they don't get anything done. So
Doing the John Henry shuffle.
yeah. So, and he'll shuffle on into those winter meetings, keep
He'll
tabs on
fall.
everything. It's nice.
Parkinson's shuffle.
It is
People will
nice to
pick him up and
have.
put him in a litter.
It's nice to have a player like Soto on the market that's looking at these big market teams, because it keeps the conversation going. So that's baseball off season. If anything transpires, keep we'll keep everyone apprised of the situation. So we've touched on all four teams here, fellas. There's nothing else really going on with any of the other New England teams at this point in time. College football has been interesting as the playoffs start to sort of come into play, and those rankings come out each week. So I believe that we're going to have Trevor Haas back on the show in a couple of weeks to talk college football bowl season and college football playoffs, which will be great. And Trevor also has a AP vote for the college basketball top 25. So we'll do a little college basketball breakdown with him as well. So
He
Awesome.
had a couple good articles that he just put out too that everyone should kind of go look at.
especially with the
One a
QB change at
few days
TCU.
ago, one last week.
Well, we're losing him.
Praz needs R2S2 to come
Ar-
back come back from
Bot boy.
yeah, he has R2S2 hasn't been with us for a while, but it looks like he just like
He's back. He's
he
back.
That's
jammed
because
this
I'm
in
back.
stable.
like
I'm
R2D2
stable. I'm on a desk.
to
Well, no, because then I go upstairs and then the dog starts fucking barking, and then like 20 minutes after the dog's barking, my mom goes, "Okay, Humphrey, crisis averted." And I'm like, "No, that doesn't help fucking anything." Like, oh my god, Jesus Christ.
I don't
All right,
know,
anyways.
but it literally looks like
We'll get
R2S2
it.
just went into your Wi-Fi and made you're as clear and crisp as we've seen you all day.
You know,
That's
that's how that works.
So
It's
We'll just
sad.
wait
It's
for
sad we're
the day.
missing our
I know.
our
I was
voice
about-
for the next segment.
I was about to say
We should just.
we
Should
have
we
should
all
just
try
cut
it? Should we all try it at the same
I
time?
think we all should, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's
in,
right.
In
Let's do
a
it. 3, 2, 1.
in a 3, 2, 1. It's time
Oh,
for
oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah!
And
Yeah.
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 Oh boy. All right, let's talk about yeah.
Well,
It's not the
Oh.
same.
I don't
It's
know what
not
just
the same.
happened.
Not the same. He's going to be very disappointed in that.
Yeah,
but
it's gonna be like, what the
honestly,
fuck
I
was that,
tried.
guys?
The only
I
thing,
tried.
the only thing that we hopefully didn't do is blow your eardrums out like he does on a week in and week out basis. But we're
There goes
gonna
my
go
speakers.
first into oh yeahs. I have to start on a bit of a serious note for those who are connoisseurs of the barbecue food here in the New England scene. You most likely know about Firefly's barbecue, which has been around for a long time out in Marlboro, and some very sad news that the owner of Firefly's barbecue, Steve Uliss, unexpectedly passed away in his early 60s, I believe. This is a little bit personal because I worked at Firefly's growing up when I was in high school. He was a great boss. He ran 3 restaurants at the time. Now just has the 1 location out in Marlboro, but does a unbelievable catering business as well. We've all been to Fireflies over the
The
course of
shows
many years for
Mhm.
live music at Dante's.
just to eat.
Just to go have a good dinner. It's a if you like barbecue food in Massachusetts, you know about Fireflies, and so our thoughts go out to the Uliss family and the Fireflies community. Fireflies is open. The show goes on for them, so
Yeah, go support them.
get
Please,
out
yeah.
there. We're definitely planning to get out there at
We're
some
due.
point in December. We're definitely due. But
3
fantastic
meat combo
barbecue.
platter.
Yeah, really, really sad news to hear.
So sad.
But Fireflies
Yeah.
is spectacular, and hopefully it continues on, and they're able to to find a way to keep it going. But working there was a great experience. One thing about restaurants, and I think we all have worked in restaurants at some point in our lives, J-Matt for sure. Restaurant experience is teamwork in a nutshell. Like the front of the house, the back of the house, the cooks, the waiters, everybody in between, like makes those things go round. So if you get a chance, like tip your servers well, understand that people are busting their ass at those kinds of places, especially when it's busy. So shout out Fireflies and all the great restaurants. Definitely get out there. Some sad news
Yeah,
about that.
and just real quick, comply to what you said there. Sometimes when you're working in a restaurant, you're with your work family more than you're with your regular family, and they become your second family. So I'm really feeling for all the service staff and the management staff and all the workers there that were close to Steve. So I'm really feeling for them, and if you can support, please do. Because who knows what the future of Fireflies will be, but I'm sure it'll be around. It's been a staple in the community for a long time.
They're too good.
Too good to go, but you just gotta, it's just sad. So go support.
J-Matt, in a state where there's not much good barbecue, I have a good feeling Fireflies will continue to dominate that area. And yeah, rest in peace, Steve. Terrible tragedy, and I'm sorry for your loss, Blotty. I know you knew him more than all of us. So
he's
tough one. Yeah.
No, he was a pillar. He was a pillar of the community. I mean, anybody that watches Phantom Gourmet has undoubtedly seen Fireflies and Steve on there over the many years. So I know he was close with the Ambleman family as well. So and like he did Julio's Liquors out in Westboro. Like they had a partnership to do whiskey dinners and all this sort of stuff. So he had a lot going on over there that I hope that they can continue on. I know that the people that work there will keep things going. He had a great staff. There's some kids that I went to high school with that are still working there that are in management positions. So it's crazy.
Love that.
But Fireflies will continue to burn the fire for a long time, as Gabe said. So get out there, Marlboro, Mass, look them up, and they do takeout. They do unbelievable service, kid-friendly restaurant too. Like definitely get out to Fireflies and go enjoy a nice meal. And then in the coming weeks and months if you can. Let's move on to some more positive oh yeahs and yeah ohs. But I got to touch on last week. The Barstool live streams are just something else. And some of the content that comes out of those things. And there was a play in the Steelers game, I believe, where Jersey Jerry just gave us a no, and it brought me right to this. And I said to Gabe offline, I was like, a no is the genesis of oh yeah oh. Like a true yeah oh is, I think we've talked about before, is a play in a game where you think something great is about to happen and then it doesn't. And Jersey Jerry, kind of gave his own oh no spin to a yeah oh. Yeah. But Kraz, you had a yeah oh moment.
Yeah,
that you
same thing on the bar. I wish that we had gotten Jenks just one more day later. So what happened in Pete's house? I mean, I've been watching Frank cook for a while, and he knows how to cook. He's pretty good, he cooks the chicken thighs, the roast potato. But he fucking, I don't know what he did, but he did something to Pete's house, and Jenks is just sitting there, just like, and there was another girl there, just like, and Frank just in the background, just screaming, I did the same thing I do every time. I don't have good equipment.
The no good. I don't have
he's got the turkey thing. He's got the turkey thing on.
That's funny.
Let's talk about this for a minute, because it was hilarious to have Jenks on the podcast. Having the kind of the conversation we had.
Yeah, what's your daily day like?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that happening the next day.
Frank burned down Pete's house.
Trying to keep my colleagues' house from burning down. First of all, Feidelberg, why the fuck did you let them into your house to do
why
that?
Would you ever let Frank
kind of recording project? That's
what I do all the time.
Number one. Like, you are a moron for that. And like, I know you had your KFC radio moment about being pissed off, and I sure would be too if I walked into that. But you got what you asked for, and then some, when you fucking let that happen at your house. Secondly, Frank was unbelievable, and Jenks just trying to put out about the fire was spectacular. Just unreal content out of Barstool. And back to Jenks for a second. Shout out to him for coming on. It's been one of our most well-received episodes for sure. We just put out the full-length interview with him as well. So you can view that like on its own on Twitter exclusively, so and on the Instagram as well. So let's continue on here with O's. I was got fortunately have a little bit of time off the real job this week, so caught some of the Maui Invitational. And Gabe and Kraz, our former coach at URI, Dan Hurley, who's been with UConn for a long time now, absolutely lost his
Not
mind
surprised at all.
He always loses it.
He does.
It's his one flaw, and he's had it since URI, and he's probably had it since before. But he really
Guy's gonna have a
cost
heart attack.
he really cost UConn at the end of this game in overtime, where a foul was committed, and he lost it, and it resulted in 4 free throws from Memphis to go from a tie game to a 4-point game, and Memphis getting the ball. And that cost them the game. And I know he was livid after the fact, but love Danny Hurley, what he's done for college basketball and his success. Like, you can't question any of it, but that's always been something, is his temper can get the best of him at times. He's done a good job like keeping it in check, but I don't know, the good vibes of why Bill Walton wasn't there to be able to give him a little gummy before.
I was gonna say he needs a CBD gummy or something.
Yeah.
Just like squirt it in his water. Be like, here, go drink this.
He's a little 1-to-1 action, in my opinion.
You're thirsty. You're sweating. Here, drink this.
Speaking of gummies, our lasso, it's got to be the holiday that's on the horizon this week. Where just Thanksgiving overall, everything that comes along with Thanksgiving. But as we talked about earlier, a little gummy action, or you go take that walk before the meal to go take care of business. Anyone want to talk about the walk?
I've said enough. Mrs. Shipon is already gonna. I already got a call from her. I can imagine.
All right. Well, we don't want you in the penalty box from your mother, so we're gonna avoid that.
But Thanksgiving, I will say,
the best holiday.
So for me, it's not my favorite. I don't love Thanksgiving Day food. I think it's dry. I think it's kind of bland and lame, but it's good to see family, and that's kind of the point of it anyways. But do you guys have a favorite Thanksgiving Day dish? That was on my mind earlier.
Yeah, definitely got to go around the horn here. J-Mac, kick it off.
So I like a green bean casserole with like the fried onions on top. I'm all about that. And then on the sweet side, I don't know if like your families do this, but my family does. It's really good there. We usually do like either like a cinnamon roll or like a pecan roll.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a really good sweet start to your meal too. So
love that.
Yeah, real good.
Dude, stuffing in the bird.
Yeah.
You gotta do it in the bird. You can't do it outside of the bird. You gotta fucking stuff
gravy?
that motherfucker, dude.
You about that gravy life?
Yeah, dude. And then they give gravy afterwards. So I mean, I love my my brother, my soon-to-be sister-in-law, and my brother, but they're both vegan and vegetarians, and I kind of like nudging my dad because she's making a mushroom gravy, which I will eat and it will be delicious. But I said to Ed, can you please make some giblet jerk?
You got it, right? You
some
got
of that giblet gravy, please.
Yeah.
And no, he's getting a live 24-pound bird. It's gonna be a big boy. So I'm gonna try and stuff that motherfucker and brine it, a couple of days before.
He's getting it live?
Personal favorite. Yeah. One of our I don't know. I might be talking out of my ass. And Max will probably call me out about it. Max might call me out about it, but I think a client or something like that is like has a turkey farm, so he's getting one from like a turkey farm.
Elmer Fudd.
So I'll just
take it out back.
Nah, you don't want to know what they do, Josh. They got a little clipping machine.
God. I don't want Peter coming after us.
Shut our podcast down.
I gotta do shit.
I caused a little controversy on my other family side, my fiance's family side.
Boy is right.
Yeah. So Francesca's mom, she texted me and asked what side I would like for Thanksgiving. My response was mac and cheese, and which I thought was like, it's kind of becoming more of a staple on Thanksgiving Day tables these days, and I just feel like that was a total wrong answer. Like they're like, what the fuck? Like that, how long that's gonna take me to make, and like I don't know. They're great people, but I just don't think mac and cheese was on their menu. Well, now it is, but
Oh, they're
previous
making it.
I don't.
they're making it.
Oh,
I
let's
don't.
go. But that's gonna be some damn good
I
mac and
mean,
cheese. I bet.
that means that
I
despite
mean,
the ask.
now I
Go
just
ahead.
love them more than any. Like they just become like one in my heart for making mac and cheese. And yeah, I love the the other family there.
You said what I was about to say. Like, you're officially in. The fact that they roasted you about the mac and cheese, but they're going to make the mac and cheese means that
Yeah.
you've officially won them over. So very good there. For me, Thanksgiving. For me, Thanksgiving. And if Francesca's family can cook as well as she does, you're in for some good mac and cheese. So
Yeah.
that's for sure. For me, Thanksgiving is two things. It's the post meal 9 to 10 p.m. Late night turkey sandwich where you take a little bit of the turkey, a little bit of the stuffing, a little bit of the cranberry, and you slap it on a little bit of bread, and oh, that late night sandwich, or or
Gotta
or
put the gravy on there.
even next day, the giblet gravy, don't you forget it. And
Give the gravy.
the other thing for me, it's got to be the sweets. It's got to be the sweets.
Yeah.
And
Hell yeah. Great desserts.
I mean, for me,
Pies. Oh man.
the pies are spectacular, but there's one thing that one of my cousins makes, and it's the pecan. It's like a pecan square, and it's elite. It's just elite. I don't even know what's in it, but it's spectacular in every way, shape, and form. So I'm looking forward to a day of just stuffing my face with all different kinds of food. Definitely get to see family, which is also great, and we really hope everyone enjoys their Thanksgivings. And if you're somebody who's that doesn't get to celebrate Thanksgiving because you work in a profession that doesn't allow you to, whether that be the medical field or emergency services, a big shout out to you, or any other
Yeah.
profession I didn't list there, but a big shout out to you for working those holidays. And
Good call,
Thank you.
Plotty. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of people who don't get to necessarily celebrate or volunteer to go work on these sorts of days. So a big shout out to all those folks. And let's bring it on home here with the Pike in the week ahead. Celtics up 13 now here in the second quarter versus the Clippers. A few other games. We obviously have a big day of football on Thursday with Thanksgiving.
Live bet that. Live bet that.
Yep, keep your eyes peeled. You never Thanksgiving Day games are all over the place. And Bruins and Celtics continue on here over the course of the next week. And so big guest next week. Confirmed, ready to go. I feel pretty confident in announcing this unless he has an issue. But our guest next week is going to be the play-by-play voice of the Boston Bruins on 98.5 The Sports Hub, Ryan Johnston. So what a great time to bring him on
Wow.
with everything
Great
that's
time.
transpired. So looking forward to having RJ on next week. And that's going to do it for us this evening. Gentlemen, a pleasure and honor as always. Anything you want to close out on with the Pike, or I think we're ready to wrap.
I think mac and cheese could be a great addition to that sandwich, Plotty.
Ooh, on the sandwich or on the side?
Yeah.
Sprinkle it on.
Whatever
All
you
right.
want.
Give it
Well,
a whirl.
I'll report back next week
Try
and let you know.
Yeah.
So
Don't forget that giblet gravy.
giblet gravy for the win. For the win.
Damn
Anyways,
straight.
all right. Great to see you, gentlemen. Big E's back next week with us as well. So everybody enjoy your Thanksgiving. Thanks for tuning into this episode, near, far, wherever you are. We will see you next time.
Adios,
Dinosaur.
amigos.
Later.